When you're standing in a busy kitchen or at a catered event and you realize the line of plates is growing faster than the food can stay at the right temperature, that moment of doubt can feel like a real gamble. You start wondering if the cart you've been using will actually keep the soup steaming or the salad crisp, or if you'll end up with a half-warm disaster that makes guests complain. That hesitation is exactly why I wanted to take a closer look at the Cambro PCUHC615 Pro Cart Ultra Tall Hot/Cold. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this review, I'm going to break down what the cart actually does in a real-world setting, where its value comes from, and who will truly benefit from spending that money versus who might be better off looking elsewhere. First off, the biggest question people have is whether a cart that promises both hot and cold performance can actually deliver both without compromise. Cambro markets this unit as a charcoal model, meaning it can run off a propane or charcoal heat source when you're not near an outlet. For a catering crew that moves between outdoor venues, a park, or a temporary banquet hall, that independence is a huge practical advantage. It removes the need to hunt for a 110-volt plug and the tangled cords that can become a tripping hazard. On the flip side, if your operation is completely indoor and you already have a reliable power source, the extra flexibility may not translate into real savings for you. The cart's insulation is another focal point. Cambro states that the thick, CF-free insulation can hold hot or cold food for plus hours. In a typical lunch service, that window is more than enough to keep a soup pot at a safe temperature until the last plate is served, even if the line stretches longer than anticipated. I've seen similar insulated carts lose heat after 2 hours, so the extra insulation here is genuinely useful. However, it's worth noting that the 4+ hours claim assumes the cart starts out fully preheated or pre-chilled. If you're loading it with room temperature items and then turning on the heat source, you'll see a shorter hold time. The practical takeaway is to plan your prep so the cart is already at the desired temperature before you start the service. One of the design choices that often trips up new buyers is the height. This model is ultra tall, which means the work surface sits higher than a standard service cart. For a chef who spends a lot of time bending over trays, that can reduce fatigue during a long shift. In my observation of a few catering teams, the taller surface allowed them to load full sheet pans without stooping, keeping the workflow smoother. But the trade-off is that the cart can be a bit harder to maneuver through tight doorways or low ceilings. If your venue has low clearance, you might need to double-check the height measurements before you commit. The rails inside the cart are another point of practical interest. Cambro includes 16 sets of adjustable stainless steel rails, which can hold everything from small saucepans to full-size sheet pans. In a real event, that flexibility means you can stack a few trays of desserts on one side while keeping a casserole on the other, all without the items sliding around. The rails are sturdy enough that you can slide heavy pans in and out without a wobble, which is a relief when you're juggling multiple dishes at once. That said, the adjustment mechanism is manual and can feel a bit finicky the first time you line it up. You'll need to spend a few minutes in advance to set the rails to the exact heights you need. Once they're set, they stay put, but the initial setup does add a small time cost. Mobility is always a key factor with any cart, and Cambro's heavy-duty 6-inch casters are built for that purpose. 2 of the casters swivel and have brakes, so you can lock the cart in place while you're plating, then roll it forward to a new station with ease. The casters handle concrete floors and carpet fairly well, but on very uneven outdoor surfaces, think a gravel patio, they can get a bit stuck. If you plan to use the cart primarily on smooth indoor floors, the wheels will be a non-issue. If you anticipate frequent outdoor use on uneven terrain, you might want to consider adding a set of larger, more rugged wheels as an aftermarket upgrade. Now, let's talk about durability because that's where many service carts end up paying for themselves or failing. The exterior is rust-proof and dent-resistant, which is a claim you can verify by looking at the material. In a busy kitchen, carts get bumped, knocked, and sometimes even dropped. A rust-free finish means you won't be fighting corrosion after a few months of heavy use, especially if you're storing the cart in a damp back-of-house area. The dent-resistant paneling also helps keep the cart looking professional, which matters when you're presenting food to clients. The downside is that the metal panels,